Hey y'all, so we're gonna get into this review of Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 6, Episode 17, titled Sau Lady Like. Um, and if you enjoy this live, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. Now let's get into it. So we're with Mel and Kiki, leaving off of last episode, and they're discussing the whole Crime Stopper situation. And in her confessional, Kiki said she thought that she and Tiffany had put their issues way behind them, but apparently not. And she's not totally surprised that Tiffany assumed the worst of her. But, she says when it's all said and done, and the situation is handled in the courts and she's vindicated, she expects all the haters and doubters to bow down and to make up for it. And then Kiki tells Melody how, um, now that she has lawyers involved, she can't really discuss the case at all. And I'm just like, okay. But then she tells Melody that she isn't worried at all, and she wasn't worried when she saw all of the stuff everywhere about her on the internet because she knows the details. But then Melody asks Kiki if it was her in the video, and Kiki's just like, she can't confirm or deny. And Melody was like, well, you'll be all right. Then Kiki says that she's just bewildered that people really believe this. And she says that she understands that people assume that she relapsed because that's on her, but she confirms that she hasn't. And then Melody tells Kiki that she has her support if she needs it, and Kiki says that she appreciates it, and that Melody was the first person to call her about the whole situation. And Melody is like, for real? And Kiki says, yeah, but Tisha was the last person to call her. And Melody says, well, Kiki, when it comes to their whole situation, they're just getting back to somewhat on the same page when it comes to Kiki and Tisha. So she can't really expect Tisha to be, that concerned cousin. And, she basically saying that that might be the wrong expectation for the situation right now. And I'm not gonna lie, I agree because how it is with family. It's so up and down. So so it's kind of like you want to be like, oh, are you good? But you don't really trust that you can do that. Don't worry, y'all. Like for my glasses, I just feel more comfortable doing this. Got some social anxiety, so bear with me. They come off eventually, but right now, that's why I have them on. And then Kiki does the whole spiel of like, you can't expect yourself from other people. You can't expect people to treat you the same way that you treat them. And she says that because she would have called Tisha if something had happened. And Melody asked Kiki, well, when all of this stuff that was going on with Marsau on the internet and Miss Wanda on the internet, did Kiki reach out to Tisha and talk to her? And Kiki says, like, she just doesn't feel comfortable calling Tisha about anything about Marsau, period. What is the messiness with that? Because that family, that dynamic when it comes to the whole cheating thing, y'all so like, but it's just real messy. It's just a mess. Um, but in her confessional, Melody says that with everything that's been going on, with she and Tisha, she says, hold on, my bad. Um, in her confessional, Melody says that with everything that's been going on with she and Tisha, she says that when it comes to her being the only person trying to broker peace between the two cousins, she says it really doesn't change nothing for her. Um, whether or not it was from someone who said that she had an evil and dark soul, you know, all she wants to do is bring peace and bring families back together. And the messy me wants to say, well, what about the family that she doesn't want to rebuild with? My bad, y'all. My FaceTime. I hope y'all can't hear that. I really do. I'm so sorry. Anyways, um, I was saying that I don't really believe that Melody, really wants to help and that she really cares that much. But if she does actually need it, it's okay. It is what it is. Um, but then Melody asked Kiki if she's going to Tiffany's baby reveal party thing because Tiffany said that she would invite Kiki. And Kiki's like, for real? She said she'd invite me? And she's like, yeah, it's cool, she'll go. And Melody says that, she know how this group is, so just be prepared to be answering a lot of questions. And Kiki's like, yeah, I'm good, I'm good. My bad, y'all, I'm just responding to these things. Okay, so now we're with Tisha, and she is meeting with Marsau at their unfinished house. And in her confessional, Tisha says that the renovations are going good, but basically they're doing a whole bunch of extra shit in the house. They just keep adding on to what they need renovated. And Tisha mentions to Marsau how she knows that he had court today, and she's like, uh-oh. And Marsau was like, no, it wasn't court, it was a deposition. And she asked him regardless how it went, and he was like surprisingly well. And I'm like, again, Marsau, I don't really know if I believe that, but of course they gotta put on a brave face. I did not realize that they were still going through that whole legal thing. Like, I heard about it months ago, from other YouTube channels who would, cover Love and Marriage Huntsville and stuff and all the messy stuff that would happen. But I didn't know that it was 5 million and that it was still going on and all this shit. Like, ooh, child. Um, but in his confessional, Marcel says, whenever you sue someone in construction, you can countersue. So he says they riding that shit all the way to trial, and Tisha is just a cheese and like, mm-hmm. And I'm just like, girl, don't let his pride play with y'all's reputation and y'all coin. Like, Marsau do a lot of this, and I feel like sometimes he be getting them caught up because he run his mouth too much, and she don't be stopping him. Not that we see, maybe they just don't ever say when she stop him or like show it to us. Mm. But I want to see them behind the scenes. I want to see all the footage that they don't put on. Now I know they only have like an hour, 45 minutes if you want to be honest to put in everything from a certain week or whatever. But like, I want to see everything because some of this stuff be extra. Y'all be making it look worse than it really is. I know that's the whole point of production, but no. But then Tisha asked Marsau what their furniture budget is, and he is just like, really, Tisha, right now, more money. That's like kind of look on his face, and you can see it, and he's just like, can we rent some furniture or whatever? And she's looking at him like, nigga, are you dumb? And I was just like, Marsau, good and good damn well. Y'all not gonna rent no fucking furniture, are you? Anyways, and he's like, well, let's just be creative with this furniture stuff. And she's like, well, how about you cut back on the spending with your cars and we could do the furniture stuff? And he starts laughing. And Tisha's like, stop playing because, you do too much. And that he's always trying to budget her when it comes to stuff. And he's like, no, he got his car on his allowance. They do a lot of back and forth about this whole allowance thing. And I'm just like, didn't y'all go see like a little budgeting couples therapist counselor like last season? You ain't got this figured out yet. But then Tisha's like, okay, well, where's the rest of the money at that you've been making? Like, have you been spending on food and stuff? Like, he's like, he's trying to figure out if she lying. And well, no, she's trying to figure out if he's lying. And he's like, Tisha, are you really, asking me that? And he started laughing and shit. And see, with Marsau, you can never know what's a joke and what's legit because he always just, everything's a fucking joke to him. You hear me? But then he tells Tisha that she gets more spending money than him. She gets 5,000, he gets 3,500, and a lot of that money goes into putting on the house, and none of the money that she gets goes into putting on the house. And she just flashes her dimples, and she's like, she gotta buy stuff for the kids. But then Marsau tells Tisha that she takes away the sacrifice that he's doing, especially in the house. And Tisha says that she feels like he's always on her about what she spends, and she feels like he spends more because he buys bigger things, and then he compares his car to her purse and asks how much it costs, and she's like, I'm not going to tell you that. And I'm just like, I know that's right, Tisha. You better keep playing mind games with him, keep him guessing, because you're going to get what you're going to want regardless, because he's always playing mind games with you, is he not? But then Marsau says to Tisha that he doesn't care or ask her about what she does with her money, but then says, she's like, oh, Marsau, you be lying and stuff about what you spend your money on. And I felt like he was kind of faking his frustration with her. And he was like, I gotta squeeze an apology out of you like toothpaste. She was like, no, Marsau, you don't have to do that. She's like, I'm not trying to discredit the work that you do. And he's like, hey, Tisha, normally an apology works with the fewest words possible. And I'm like, oh, so all of a sudden you don't like it when somebody go all around the mulberry bush talking to you. She's been married to you for a long time. She's learned some tricks, sir. And you have to be honest. You cannot say that you didn't think that all your little mind tricks that you was playing with her was gonna eventually come back to you. Don't play with me, okay? Um, and he's just like, Tisha, just apologize. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I just want to buy another car, a SVU. He's like, that's fine, whatever. And I'm like, exactly. You better whine and throw a fit and get what you want, period. And then she inches in for a hug, and he was like, nah, man, you ain't got to be all extra and all that. And they laugh, and she leaves, period. So now we're with Stormi, and it's Tiffany and Stormi. They're meeting up, and in her confessional, Stormi says last time she saw Tiffany, they were collectively expressing their thoughts to Tisha. If that's what you want to call that childish shit that you did, yo, fine. Because honestly, y'all know how much I don't like Tiffany. Y'all know, y'all know how much I don't like Tiffany. But she behaved better than Stormi's ass did at that lunch. Do you hear me? Stormi showed her fucking ass, and I'm just like, all right, whatever. But Stormi says that since then, Tiffany has had the baby, and she's helped her. She's asked her to help plan the blow party. Then they talk with the party planner about the event and all of that, and Stormi says that she's excited to see it all come together, and she asks who's coming, and what she really wanted to know was if Kiki was showing up. And Tiffany says some family members and some friends, and she just jots down like, Stormi would come, Kimmy, Tisha, and um, then my bad, y'all, because I can't understand these notes. I was typing so fast. I was trying to get this done because the new episode come out tomorrow. But then Tiffany asked Stormi if it'll be okay that she invited Tisha, like if Tisha comes. And Stormi says, yeah, because the party's about the baby. So, if something is wrong, then that's kind of crazy. And Tiffany was just like, because the last time she saw them together, they was like, rawr. And Tiffany and Stormi was like, worry? I wouldn't call it that. I would call it very childish and very bitchy. Sorry. Stormi says that she hasn't talked to Tisha since all that stuff. And Tiffany says that she feels that Stormi was letting her have it. And Stormi was like, for real? She felt like it was lightweight. And Tiffany says that Tisha didn't even eat her food. And Stormi says that, That's a Tisha problem. And then Tiffany jokes and says that it's never a Stormi problem. Stormi says that it sure isn't. And um she never like initiates anything. She only responds. And Tiffany asks, her dumbass questions, asking if Stormi thinks that Tisha went back and talked to Marsau. And Stormi was like, she absolutely did. That's her husband. She would go back and tell Courtney, as she did. So what do you mean? And then Stormi says that she doesn't have any issue with Tisha, but she just can't handle Marsau because she doesn't do dudes who act like bitches. And he thinks that he's the smartest person in the room when he's really an asshole. And you just called that woman's husband a bitch on TV. Okay, pause, because you know how y'all like to get technical. I know how you girls like to tussle. Would you say that she called him a bitch, or that she just compared him to a bitch? Because y'all know how y'all like to get technical. Y'all let me know. But then Tiffany says that it won't be any men there. It's just the ladies, like Kiki and Mel and Nail. And Stormi says, so Kiki's coming. So, like, you invited Kiki. And Tiffany is like, why are you acting like that about Kiki? And I'm like, your judgmental ass. Your judgmental ass does not like Kiki. And you want to use every chance you get to talk about that lady. Do you hear me? Everybody knows that. And you know that more than anything. And her excuse that she uses later as to why she invited Kiki, I don't believe it. Because you every time y'all see each other, y'all digging each other ass. So why would you invite her around your child? You dumb. But in her confessional, Stormi says that she's really shocked that Tiffany even invited Kiki because every time they're together, they have issues. And then they show the montage of Tiffany and Kiki going back and forth, and how Tiffany says that she doesn't know if she wants to extend herself to get to know Kiki because of how she sees her treat Tisha. And Kiki is like, Tiffany, what the hell is your problem? And in my opinion, I feel like she only invited Kiki to see drama go down between Kiki and Tisha. And, she just wants to be able to Kiki there. She wants to be able to Kiki there literally with Stormi about it. And it's just like, you act like you weren't just telling Mel about how you feel like Kiki was messing up their brands or gonna mess up their brands because of y'all association with her. So let's not even do that, please. Because you so fake with it though, and it's not even, you can't even hide it no more. You honestly never hit it, and I don't know why they stay allowing you to stay on the show. If you tone it down some, then maybe it'll be alright, but please. But then Tiffany tells Stormi that she just feels like they need to move forward as long as Kiki doesn't take any locks or any, souvenirs while she's there. That's not moving forward, Tiffany, if you ask me, because you still throwing shots. And then you wonder why Destiny did not like your ass. Everybody was just like, oh, Tiffany's mean. And Mel was just like, oh, there's nothing wrong with her. And you're a gaslighting bitch. That's what's wrong with you. And Destiny saw it and she couldn't take the fake shit. Everybody sees it and they just try and let the shit slide. But you be throwing it in there and they just be letting the shit slide. And I can't. I can't. But then Stormi says that she did see the Crime Stopper situation and says that she thinks that it's a hard thing. And Tiffany says that she just doesn't really, know what to do. Tiffany says that she has no idea what could be going on or what someone could do to get on to Crime Stoppers. And says that, she's a mom and she had her kid help her steal something out of the store. And even after that, they tell her to put it back but she still leaves with something and rushes out of the parking lot, hitting two cars, and says that, there's no way to make any of that sound good. Well, didn't Denzel say he's from around the way, so he gonna leave us something. Didn't he say that? All right, then. The fuck, Tiffany, you should know that, bitch. Stop. Like, chill on Kiki for a bit. Thanks. But then she says that she's been trying to weigh it, like if she should be friends with Kiki or not. And after just seeing the whole Crime Stopper situation, she's like, hell no. And she doesn't want she didn't want nothing to do with that. And Stormi's like, really? And Tiffany just mentioned when Mel came over and mentioned and encouraged her to see Kiki in a different way. So she extended the olive branch and says that everybody deserves another chance. I'm like, okay, sure. I feel like you invited Kiki to be like, yeah, y'all, this is the lady who was on Crime Stoppers. But in her confessional, Tiffany says that last time she was with the ladies, it didn't go well, but hopefully it'll be positive for the baby and all that stuff. This is about the baby. And she didn't exclude anyone, so hopefully, they'll all look around the room and be like, oh, okay, this is a different Tiffany. This is a different vibe. We want to see, honey. But then Stormi asked Tiffany if it's hard for her after having the baby because, it was a lot, I guess. And, it's nice that these Black moms are reaching out to one another, and just been like, it's okay. And even though Tiffany, I guess you would not consider her Black, she is just biracial, if y'all want to get real technical. But it's still nice that Stormi reached out and asked her, like, oh, are you good? Because that's more important than all that other rah-rah shit y'all be doing for a check, Regardless, she your mom, she's pushed out a baby, it is what it is. I don't like Tiffany, and I'll stand on that, but it's just, I'm commending Stormi for how she acted. Even though Stormi get on my nerves because sometimes I be on her side, and then sometimes I'll just be like, you doing too much. So I'm just commending Stormi for what she did here about reaching out to Tiffany. My bad, y'all. I'm just responding to a text. Okay. My bad, y'all. So, Tiffany says she doesn't know if she's here or not, and she feels like she's just going through emotions, and says that getting back into work has been difficult because it takes a lot out of her during the day, and then her older kids need stuff, and then the baby needs something every second of the day, so it's just been a lot. And she says that it's just the things that she just wanted right now, and then it's just too much. It's just too much going on. And then Tiffany says that it's also a lot being a wife on top of that. And then Stormi asks her, how has Big Lou been with everything? And Tiffany says that he hasn't been there and that he's just been on the road. And Stormi's like, oh, but you've been good. Look now, Tiff, this is what you said you wanted, and I'm trying not to be too hard on you because you're a new mom, but this is what Lewis said was going to happen. He said, like, look, this boat ain't going to stop nothing. You said that this boat ain't going to stop shit. So, but then again, you have to give her the benefit of that. She's a new mom. It's still overwhelming anyway. But Tiffany thanks Stormi for asking her that because she says that she hasn't even had that conversation with her husband because he hasn't been home. And Stormi basically says that, girl, don't cry, you're gonna make me cry. And then Tiffany says it's just been a lot. And Stormi asked her if she feels like there's a strain on herself, and Tiffany says 100% yeah. And then Stormi asked her if she's felt depressed. And Tiffany says that she's crying all the time. And Stormi says that she can just tell that Tiffany's energy just really isn't all that there. And that she's just really not okay. And tells her that it's okay to not be okay. And Tiffany says that she doesn't know right this second what she would need to be okay, but she appreciates Stormi for asking, and they hug each other. So that was a cute little moment, between moms. And then Marsau and Tisha and their professional says that they're there to meet the Fletchers, and child, these Fletchers are here for a check. You hear me? They here for a check. They come with the mess, they come with the shade, they come with the tea, they come with everything, and I'm here for it. I really am. Now, and it's not like it's coming off disrespectful in my opinion. It's not, but it's just like, look, let me make it clear. But they're there to meet with the Fletchers, and Marsau says that it's supposed to be their regular date night, but Tisha says that they reached out, like the Fletchers reached out to them, and they were just like, oh, let's just turn it into a double date night. And Tisha didn't seem interested at all. And Marsau says it's kind of weird being invited out and being the first to arrive, and says that must be how everybody else feels when they're late. And he chuckles because he thinks this shit is really funny. But no, because y'all are always late. So it's hilarious that he actually like mentioned that, because Kimmy and Maurice always complain about them being late. Always. Even to the don't come back group meetings. And in her confessional now, Nail says that they're hoping to get some explanation as to why they weren't invited to the Black Expo. And then Chris says that, truth be told, they have more experience and have been in business longer than anyone in the comeback group. So they think that they deserve to receive some answers from the Scotts. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much to Paralegal Perspective. I appreciate that. I feel pretty, so thank you. But yeah, so Chris was like, he feels like they just need some answers for the Scotts as to why they weren't invited to the expo. And my thing is that everybody want to beat down Tisha and Marsau's throat about why they weren't at the expo, but how come y'all never try to do something like this and follow through with the idea on your own? And now y'all mad y'all weren't invited, but how about y'all do your own event and not invite Tisha and Marsau? Maybe that would make up for it. Invite everybody else except for them, because at this point, Tiffany feels the same way, Stormi feels the same way, and it's just all been begrudgingly. So whatever. So to do some small talk about business and who's still doing TikToks, because Chris has been an internet whore out here on TikTok acting a fool at his old age. So whatever. But Nail gets straight to the shit. She's like, so what happened at the expo? And Tisha romanticizes how well it went, how many people were there, how many people showed up. And even a whole bunch of businesses showed up that she didn't know about, she said. And then Nail was like, so you didn't care about inviting us to the expo? And what I thought about, I was like, I know what it is. Y'all pissy. Is Nail, Tiffany, and all of them who weren't a part of the expo, they're mad because Destiny was still selling her Madani products. I don't know if anyone ever noticed, because I mentioned this in I think my last review, that even though Destiny isn't a part of the show anymore, they allowed her to have a vendor spot at the expo. Because I saw Martell and his brother standing in front of the Madani thing. So are y'all pissy because Destiny still got to be in it and she not a part of the show no more? Like, ugh. Especially Tiffany. I know she'd be mad. Little irky ass. But then Marsau was like, y'all weren't invited? And Nail was like, not personally, no, they weren't invited. And that they had ensured the Fletchers that they would get an invite somehow at Mariah or somebody's birthday party. And Marsau looks at Chris and he's like, I don't even really know what you do for real. And Chris was like, I do real estate. And then Marsau admits to just not thinking about them for real. And then Nail asks Marsau, so what is it that he thinks he actually, No, Nail asked Marsau what is it that he thinks they actually do for a living. And Marsau literally says out of his little misogynistic ass mouth, Chris makes a lot of money and she's just his pretty ass wife. And Nail and Chris are just staring at him like, did you really just say that? And in her confessional, Nail says that she's getting annoyed with Marsau's comments and says that she is not just Chris's wife. She's a very successful businesswoman. Okay, period. And you let his ass know, fuck. But then in his confessional, Chris says that they are definitely the OG power couple, OG black power couple. Let me be specific. For 29 years in Huntsville. And Nell says that maybe in 29 years, the Scots will catch up to them. And Chris is like, maybe. And Tisha tells Marsau that Nell has a whole daycare. And Marsau's like, for real? And Nell says, for 29 years now. And I ain't even gonna lie to you, after I did my notes, I had to go up and I had to search this place because Chris was like, it's called Growing Smiles or something in Huntsville. I was looking at the reviews. 3.7 stars on Google. I don't know. Y'all tell me what you think. I don't know. Anyways, Marsau says, how would he have known any of that? Like, did they tell him that ever? And Chris says he did. And Marsau was like, stop playing. But tells him that he just really didn't think about them and he apologized for it. And Nell's like, okay, but I don't really believe that shit. And Marsau's like, why do you think I'm lying? Like, why would I lie about that? And he says, honestly, because they are friends of other friends and they aren't really in a good place right now, he thought it would be weird for him to invite them to be at the expo when they're not in a good place right now with the Holts. And that's how they met the Fletchers, through the Holts. So he said that he feels like it would have been a little weird. But then Nail says that, well, she doesn't operate like that and that this isn't high school or college. Okay, Mama Fletcher, damn. Like, I thought we was here for dinner, not to, okay. But then Marsau says pretty nicely that, they just met them through the Holtz, so he felt like it was just kind of like weird, for them to be invited. And Tisha says that it's just the line drawn that they have right there when it comes to the Holtz. And Nail was like, okay, so that's how y'all operate, but she just doesn't let people, dictate her friendships. That's what she says. That's what Nail says. And then Tisha explains that they just have to keep their distance when it comes to that whole situation with the Holtz because it's so sensitive. And in their confessional, Nail says that their issue has to be with Melody because those Scots are still friends with Marcel. So, she feels like it was shady to some degree, but she understands it, but yeah. And then Chris asks if they got to the whole comeback group together. And Tisha says that, they still working on it, but she thinks they're off to a good start. And then Chris asks, is everybody in, like, are they ready to do it, basically? And Marsau says no, but, Martel didn't even speak. He mostly just worked the crowd, and that Melody didn't speak either, but she showed up, so that was cool. And then Nail, again, straight to the shit, her usual, says, well, she heard that nobody wanted to speak because they didn't want to pay anyone. And Tisha and Marsau said that they weren't never going to pay anyone to speak. And it was more about giving back in so many words, okay? But then Nail asked, so nobody got paid. And the Scott said, no, they were the ones who paid a lot of money. And Marsau says what they did was not charge them to speak. And Nail is like, so you're paying people for that time not to speak. And he's like, they're not volunteering. anything. And he says that it's cool to not be a part of it if, you don't want to speak for free, but he's not going to just pay you for your t-shirt presses or some shit for selling t-shirts and shit. He was trying to be shady. And I'm like, what are you talking about when he first said that? I'm like, who are you talking about selling your t-shirts? You're not impressed. And then Nail and Chris is like, oh, that was a dig to Mel. I'm like, well, don't all of y'all sell t-shirts? That's the easiest way to get some money. Shit, if I had a t-shirt press, I'd start selling that shit. What are you saying? Not trying to give them too much clout, but I know you heard about the random man from Atlanta and how, what's her name? Morgan. He left that t-shirt press with Morgan, and now she making money for her and the baby. Like, come on, Marsau. But he's always putting his foot in his mouth, and Tisha needs to get his ass before he really ruined their reputation, like for real, everywhere, because he just don't know how to talk to people. Like, I don't know. He says, if you feel like you deserve to get paid, you have to show him what you've done. And he says that if you haven't done enough to get paid, then it is what it is, because he has been in this business for a long time, and he feels like he and Tisha have expertise to share. So, he's not just lollygagging with this shit. He's not just gonna have somebody come up there just to do anything or to pay them just to do anything. Marsau, there's a better way you could have said that. You always going all over the place. There's a better way you could have said that, because I feel like they understood it, but not really. And he says that the people who have been doing it the longest probably would have gotten paid if it was really that serious. He's saying Maurice and Stormi, that they would have gotten paid for speaking because they have done it the longest. And Chris is like, you better say the whole enterprises, because they were around for a long time. And they was like, yeah, because y'all even did business with the Holts. And Marsau was like, well, where are they now? I'm like, see, you're always getting extra. And then Tisha has to, like, put a band-aid over the shit. And then Nell was like, whoa, Marsau, that was low. But in her confessional, Nell says that Melody sells t-shirts and, gives advice to the community. And Chris says, so does Black. They sell t-shirts too. And Nell says that Marsau's comment was shady. And Marsau tells Nell and Chris that he appreciates them letting them know how they felt and not brushing it under the rug, because they weren't intentionally trying to offend them. But, they will be made more aware in the future. And Nell and Chris agree. And then Tisha tells Marsau, like, oh, that's what 29 years looks like, babe. And then out of nowhere, curveball, she asked the Fletcher, she was like, so have you ever dealt with cheating? Not even infidelity, the politically, socially correct term. She said cheating, period. Boom. And they're both like, yeah, of course, they older, they're not really like, well, why would you ask such a, personal question? And I'm like, damn, that's fucked up how they were just both like, yeah, even though we know that Chris did what he did, because, they talked about it seasons ago when they were trying to get Melody Martell to act like they had some sense for a bit. But that's neither here nor there. It's just messed up that that's the dynamic, Some people are comfortable with that though. It is what it is. But then Tisha asked Nell how she found out. And Marsau was like, can we please not talk about this? He getting all comfortable. He's like, can we pause for a second? And I'm like, why are you getting uncomfortable? Why are you getting all itchy in your seat? Let's talk about this. But then in her confessional, Nell says that part of her felt like it was a jab that he asked that Tisha asked the question about the cheating, but she said part of her also felt like, and Chris was like, that maybe Tisha was reaching out for help. And Nell says, maybe not that, but she definitely thinks Tisha wanted to have a personal conversation with her. But of course, Marsau shut that down. So what you do is, is you slide your business card under a napkin, okay? And then you slide that over to Tisha while Marsau's not looking and tell her to call you, okay? That's how you do that. And I don't know where the fuck that come from because I'm not that smooth. But there you go. Shout out to my mom for making me watch Aunt Wendy because that's where that came from. I'm not that smooth and I ain't never done that before. But that's what you do, okay? Just listen to me. Anyways, Tisha apologizes to the Fletchers. She says, she's sorry if she asked an inappropriate question because Marsau's making her feel all like, oh, why you asked him about that? He felt like it was inappropriate and that she asked him about sex. Like, Marsau, like, you don't joke about sex with adults. Stop acting like a little ass boy, please. And it's just like you never want her to talk. Ever. Not when she making sense. You always want her talking when she's talking about a whole bunch of nonsense. Like, even when she agreed with Stormi that you should have never said nothing to her about that $100, Marsau. Like, you making y'all whole operation look junky and fucked up because you don't know how to just wait when to address some shit. Okay? But Nail's like, oh, Tisha, don't apologize. It's fine. It is what it is because y'all grown. Y'all talk about this shit. Y'all go through this shit. Y'all done this shit. But then, allegedly, okay. But then Marsau is like, you asked them about their sex life, Tisha. And she's just like, she just means because they've been married for so long, And obviously, if you've been married for so long, you've dealt with that stuff. It don't matter if you've been married for a year or 10. You've dealt with it. That's basically what she's saying. Nail says that she's not offended at all by that part, and I think she was trying to make a dig like she's still offended by the fact that they didn't invite them to be part of the expo, but whatever. And then Marsau makes it awkward and says that it's okay for husbands and wives not to agree because he would be offended if they asked him something like that. And I think we just all agree that Marsau probably definitely cheats on Tisha. So, in moments like this, when he's squirming in his seat, it solidifies that behavior and everything else. So, it don't matter what he says to try and get out of how he be acting a fool. Okay, he made himself look worse trying to tell her like, Tisha, don't ask that. Like, you wait until y'all get in the car leaving to go home to talk to her like that. Like, he does this in public all the time with people. He just be like talking to Tisha like she's literally one of their kids. And I don't know how she's done it for 16 plus years. She the strongest Scott woman there is, for real. Because even Tisha told her, like, girl, what you mean you don't have no update on when this house gonna be built? You stronger than me? And of course it's like, well, Marsau, what you in here really doing? Because it's taking so long, but the nigga doing it by himself. You won't let MJ help. Because you won't let the boy have their bachelor pad or whatever the fuck. So it is what it is, bro. I don't know. Okay, so we're on with Tiffany, and she's arriving to the building to see if things are ready for her baby reveal. And when she walks in, nothing's done. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I would have been pissed. Like, I have no idea how long those ladies have been there to try and get everything set up. When she arrived, nothing was done. And I wonder what time the invitation said, all right, arrive. Because, of course, she's going to have to be there a little bit early just to make sure shit actually gets done. But the fact that everything was in trash bags and they just put on the gloves to get ready, I would have been like, all right, you know what, ma'am? I'm going to pay you just because we're going to support Black business. But I need you to get up on out of here because you have not done your job or served your purpose. Okay? But when she gets there, she's like, do y'all need help with anything? Like, and the planner is like, no, you just sit there and you be beautiful, honey. And she's like, no, because, like, what's really going on? Like, there's nothing done. And she's just like, oh, you just don't worry. And if she would have had some balloons up somewhere, a streamer, a light, or something. They barely had any waffles ready for the thing. Like, it was just not, no. But then Stormy arrives and she's thinking the same thing, like, oh, she thought she would walk into a finished product, but she realized she wanted to get her hands dirty, do some work. And in her confessional, Stormy says that her goal was to help Tiffany be less stressed as possible, but she walking into shit where she like, oh, well, let me put on my gloves and let me get dirty, let me help. And I get it. She's just trying to make sure this lady is cool. I get it. It's commendable. It's nice. Okay. And then Kimmy arrives and she is thinking the same thing. She's like, oh, y'all need help with something? I would, if I would have arrived, I would have just been like, so am I too early? Or did I miss what day it was supposed to be? Am I a day early? Did I miss the party? Because there was nothing done. There's nothing. The food was, I ain't see no bacon. I ain't see no baby shower, well, after baby shower meatballs. I ain't see no fries. I ain't see nothing. There was like 3 waffles on the plate, and that's it. Anyways, like I said, she looked a mess. In her confessional, Kimmy says that she didn't think that she was early, but they were certainly late. And nothing looked ready for them to be there at all. Like they still had shit sitting on this chair, so no one could really sit down. Like nothing was set up. And then Melody arrives and she's hugging Kimmy and Tiffany, and she's like, "Hey, Stormy." And then Stormy doesn't reply because she fake fumbling around in her purse and shit. And Melody was like, it was clear that she spoke to Stormy nice and loud, but Stormy was being fake, fucking around with that purse. So she's like, it is what it is, because sometimes people just don't feel like talking. And that's fine. And, we just gonna keep it pushing. Now, I'm gonna get real adult real quick. So and mind you, I am over 21, so it is what it is. I feel like Mel has been satisfied. That's all I'm gonna say. Cause she been real zen and letting everything roll off her back. She hasn't been combative. She hasn't really been arguing, nothing like that. But she get a little heated later on in the episode because Marsau was counting her coins. But everything else, she just been like, it's okay. And it's all right. Her little high-pitched country girl voice. And it's, So I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know why that just jumped like that. But anyways, let's keep going. But then she's gloating and saying that, oh, she's happy to be there, even though she already met the baby. And Tiffany was like, you weren't supposed to say that. And Mel was like, oh, well, you ain't tell me it was a secret. And they zoom in on Stormy's face to see if she looked upset, and she had on her poker face. So, but then Kimmy asked, is everybody coming? And Tiffany was like, she invited everybody, so we'll see. And then Kimmy says that the last time she talked to Tisha, she had an RSVP'd, and Tiffany was like, yeah, she still hadn't done it yet. And she says that the last time she saw Tisha, they were okay, but gestures towards Stormy and says that, they were all, her and Tisha were all over the place. And Kimmy says, she corrects Tiffany. She was like, y'all were kind of okay. Now, one thing about Kimmy, she's not gonna let you lie. Like, if she was a witness there, she's gonna be like, well, look, see, don't you doing too much. But then Tiffany, she gets her little fake high-pitched voice and says, well, she just had questions. She's like, I just had questions, at the little luncheon where they basically ganged up on Tisha about how fucked up they felt like the expo was. And my thing is, I really feel like it was mostly all of Marsau's idea, how the shit was executed and how just a mess it was. I keep saying this. His energy started off the whole thing wrong. When he came in there asking about that money, because Tisha told him, look, don't say nothing right now. It is what it is. Just don't even worry about it. He was just like, no, let me just go ahead. Paralegal perspective says, got my chips and pop for this tea. No, look, because I'm trying to tell you that this second half of the season is really a mess. It really looks like it's about to be messy. But Tisha was just like, don't say nothing, like just leave it alone. And I feel like when he went up to Stormi and asked about that money, that's what set the whole thing off. And granted, it's TV show, it's supposed to be messy, but I feel like his energy was just not where it needed to be. And Stormi gives a little witchy woo woo, so I feel like she was just like, all right, let my energy set this whole thing off as well because he came at me wrong. And Stormi is real childish, in my opinion. Like I said in that last one where they had that lunch, and she just acted like that, and she was just being real patronizing. I did not like that because it was very childish. Um, but Tiffany says that her question was basically like why was she in the front row and why was she not a speaker? And she says that from the layout, it was supposed to be the original six from the comeback group, and then plus Stormi. Always throwing shade, and they just be like, okay. They never clock her ass ever. And then Kimmy says, well, yeah, but that was originally the idea, the original comeback group. And then Stormi says that, well, the way it played out, she could have been sitting in the front row with Stormi. I mean, with what's that girl name? Tiffany. And Kimmy says that, well, what do you mean? You could have been, sitting down. And Stormi says, girl, it was a shit show. And Kimmy's just like, what? Kimmy, you know this lady rude as fuck. She don't care. She don't care. Yes, that's exactly how she felt. And I'm glad she said it and she didn't sugarcoat it because she just gives me like, sometimes she cool, but then like, she just be doing too much for me. And I feel like she be trying to be the extra mean girl in front of Tiffany sometimes, and I don't like that shit. But then Stormi just couldn't wait. She was like, well, it was a shit show because, especially when it came to that $100. And I'm just like, y'all gonna piss me off with $100 for real. What was it a few seasons ago that they kept saying over and over and over again? And we was just like, this shit is gonna get annoying. I think it was a comeback group. I think it was just like because they could never figure it out. Every time they met up, they was arguing and stuff. I think it was a comeback group, and that is what made a lot of people who reviewed the show start getting annoyed. Like, this shit is gonna get annoying. This $100 shit. I'm already pissed. I don't know how many times I said $100 in the last like 3 weeks. Trying to review this shit. Like I was like, no. And again, Kimmy is making all these faces like she can't believe that Stormi just said that. And Mel, being nosy, says, points to Stormi. She's like, who you get into it with? And Stormi says, Marsau. And Mel is like, oh, okay, I ain't know nothing about none of that. And Stormi says, well, yeah, you did good at taking baby steps when it came to the expo thing. And Kimmy makes it clear that she had no idea about any of that. Yes, clear up your name, please. And then Stormi asks Kimmy if they paid anything. And Kimmy says that at the time of their lunch, she didn't know, but Maurice did pay to have their little vendor spot. And Tiffany says that, well, hopefully Tisha made her money and everything. And Stormi, being childish, is like, well, it was supposed to be for the community, right? Again, I feel like the moves and how Marsau acts, it rubs everybody the wrong way when it comes to their collective unit, when it comes to Tisha and Marsau as a couple. I feel like whenever he does something, it sheds a bad light with both of them, right? But when she does something, it's just her. Tell me I'm right, tell me I'm wrong, you let me know. Because I just kind of feel like whenever he do some catty shit, it just be like, Tisha, get your husband, Tisha, get your husband. Whenever she do something, it's like, well, Tisha, and I don't know. It just be too much. And Stormi did say that. She's like, she feel like Tisha be getting the brunt of a lot of the stuff that Marsau be doing and adding to. But you're continuing it. If you're the one who mentioned it, stop the pattern. But then Kimmy talks to Stormi and says that she thought that they basically had straightened everything out and nipped that shit in the bud. And Stormi is like, well, they actually haven't had a conversation about everything that happened at the lunch. But she says that when she left, things were good. And she's just so fucking passive aggressive, and I just really hate it. And no wonder she and Tiffany are besties, because y'all both passive aggressive, and it's so cringy to watch. What do you mean that you were good? After you started that shit, you patronized that lady, you poke, talking about something, oh, are you mad? Or are you mad? When you were the one who was like, see, well, let me tell you something. What you're not gonna do is tell me how I'm gonna respond. Like, girl, you're very contradictory. Very. And it's not cute, it's not funny, it's not any of that. But then Kimmy says, so will she be good? Like, ask Stormi, will she be good if Tisha shows up? And Stormi says, yeah, why wouldn't she be? And Kimmy's like, because you was just up here, and I don't know if you still up there. Are you down here? And Stormi was like, yeah, I'm down here. We gonna be straight. And she like, all right, girl, we gonna see. But Melody and Nell sit to chit chat about making plans, and then Nell wants to tell her about the dinner that she had with the Scotts. And Nell says that they were trying to clear up the air about the expo thing, and Mel's like, "Well, did you clear it? Did you clear the air?" And uh, she was like, "Yeah, kind of, but it is what it is." And she says that she thinks Tisha wants a relationship, but she doesn't feel comfortable building something like that right now because of Nail's friendship with Melody. And Melody says that, well, her friendship with Nail didn't stop nothing when Nail and Chris were patronizing Tisha and Marsau's businesses. And that was a very good point. So, and I didn't know they were off again. Like, what happened? I don't know. I don't know what will be happening. She showed up to the expo. Everything was cool. Now, I didn't see if Tisha and Mel spoke, but they seem cool. So I don't know, y'all. Y'all tell me, because they be on, they be off. It's giving. I'm not even going to say their name on this channel, because, yeah. Anyways. Melody says that basically it sounds like a whole bunch of BS. And Nell agrees, period, and says that she thinks that they'll be good at some point, but she doesn't know how they're going to feel after she dropped this tea she about to spill about how they felt about Mel not speaking at the expo. And Melody is like, well, why is Marsau talking about me? Because it was really Marsau talking the whole time. And Tisha just sipping her drink. And I'm just like, girl, stop him. He's running his mouth so bad that people are not going to want to work with y'all. And she just kind of just, and I'm just like, no, he's fucking up the bag because he's doing a lot of this. And I think they're both Libras. And a Libra man? Anyway. But Mel is like, why is he talking about her? And Nail says that he was talking about how he wasn't paying people, especially the holds, because he didn't think that they were professional enough. And I'm like, hold on now. I don't know if he said all of that now, but I guess in so many ways he did. In so many words he did. But that he said if anyone was going to get paid, it would have been Maurice or Stormi because they've been in business longer. And Melody is like, okay. And she says, well, if we want to throw jabs, let's throw jabs, because she could have said that she didn't want to be on stage with people who call themselves business people who have a lawsuit out here for $5 million for fraud. And says that, why is he so worried about her coins? And Nail says, yeah, it was the t-shirt shade for her. And Melody is like, they sell t-shirts and they sell t-shirts and his wife selling mugs and shit. So, what is he talking about? Why is he trying to be shady? And says that she helped put several checks in their pockets, and for them not to want to pay is their choice, but don't attack her on the side because she thinks it's pathetic to see a black man belittle a black woman he sees being successful, and that it's whack and it's petty, and that she's going to tell him to his face. Like I said, I heard about the whole lawsuit thing like a year or two ago from some other content creators on YouTube, because I just used to watch regular reviews before I started doing it myself. And they talked about how Tisha and Marsau were supposed to be getting sued, but I was just like, I didn't think it was legit because we never heard anything else from it. Now that y'all bring it to the show. Um, but paralegal perspective says Marsau always emotional with his word vomit, just like a girl. Literally, that's literally what they're saying. Like, I don't know what happened this episode, but he was just very triggered. Very triggered. Yeah, let's use that word. That was really the end of the review, but like, I don't know. I don't know. I really feel like he's gonna mess up Tisha's bag, and I'm gonna be very upset. And I just need her to go ahead and call it quits with this marriage, if that's something that she would see in the near future. Because if he starts fucking up the bag, she's gonna have to go and make her own. I don't want Mel to be like, oh, copycat, copycat, because a lot of women leave their husbands and they level up. But I don't know if Martell was ever that bad with his word vomit. Now, he was bad with other things, but that's neither here nor there right now. I mean, Marsau is out here constantly cheating on this lady, and she just be like, I don't know, but I know she be getting her lick backs because they said she was. She had a an apartment building or whatever that apparently, allegedly, she was using to go see her little boo-tang. Now I seen this. You cannot quote me, you can't cite me because I just seen this on other YouTube channels when I was watching a while ago. Okay, so don't name it to the cross. But like I said, this season is about to be very, very messy, and I hope y'all enjoy this review and a somewhat face reveal. You know, thank you for the 200 and so subs, you guys. I never got a chance to say thank you for that. So, you know, thank you for everybody who watched, and thank you to Paralegal Perspective for chatting with me in this live. And thank you guys for watching. And if you enjoyed this live, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.